Gentlemen, thank you very much for being on my show today. Mr. Fareed Lutfi, you are the Secretary General of the Emirates Insurance Association, but I know that you have a long legacy of starting and running many insurance companies here in the UAE, and I'm honored to have you here today, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. Issam, you are the Director of Regulatory and Business Affairs at AXA, but you're also the Chairman of the Emirates Insurance Association Motor Technical Committee. And personally, you have been a mentor and a guide for me from very early in my career. So again, it's a pleasure having you here today. I would like to start out with some figures, if we can, just to set the scene. What is the size of the UAE insurance market?
It's interesting you got into the moment of truth directly. The insurance market in UAE, as we all know, is number one in the GCC. It has been like that for many years, and for many reasons. But I can tell you, in 2018, UAE is still number one in GCC at around 44 billion dirhams as a total GWP, and in reality, this is some like 2.6% of the total GDP.
Right. So we were talking about the GDP being, what was that figure?
Gross domestic production.
Yes, the GDP was
like 415 billion.
415 billion.
I'm not wrong.
So that's compared to developed markets still a small percentage.
As a contribution, you mean? Certainly,
as penetration.
Yes. And this tells you how big is the opportunity, and a lot to be done in order to improve such a mix.
For those that don't know, what is the purpose of Emirates Insurance Association, and what is the role that it has been playing?
As you know, every country in the world has an association, wherever you go nowadays. And of course, our association, as the EIA, insurance started in 1988, as a matter of fact. And of course, there has been always that right-hand side, as everywhere else in the world, of the regulator, obviously. And of course, as an advisory, they take an advisory role in all aspects of what's happening within the market. Of course, the promulgation of the laws, of course, obviously lies with the insurance authorities, of course, which started in 2006 as a fully fledged authority. Prior to that, was a section within the Ministry of Economy. And of course, the association always hand in hand work with the insurance authorities. And of course, there's a consultation papers that come out, especially with the new, very advanced regulator that came in since 2006. He's consulting the market with what to do, the new laws, new regulations, what's happening, to of course standardize the regulations as the rest of the world. And of course, as IA also being members, and actually our Director General there is a member of IAIS as well, which is a international body on the regulations as well. And of course, they had the MOU with most of the countries, whether you name it, India, Singapore, UK, United States, everywhere. So,
what do you think our key priorities should be as an ecosystem?
Sure. It's interesting to talk about being a leader is not an opportunity, is a challenge. Like you have always to be up to date, you have always to think ahead to remain at that level. So for me, when we talk about what we are missing is great, then we start thinking to find a solution. For me, creativity and innovation. Creativity is linked directly to imagination, whereas innovation is linked to implementation. And with the innovation, it doesn't mean that you have to come always with something new, but to improve what exists.
Yes.
In, of course, the high-tech solutions. So this is why maybe our, both of us, InsurTech is the title of the game. Because innovation in UAE mainly has become a culture and not a strategy. A culture, then you have to live in it. You have to be innovative. It's not just like you have to put a strategy. No, you have to get into it. So this what, when I have been honored to join the Emirates Insurance Association, and when I have been asked to put an action plan for 2019, I couldn't find but innovative initiatives to catch up with even the government strategies and to catch up with the global best practices. And this is why we had our motor best practices seminar towards the end of June of this year. And I'm very much excited to maybe throughout this session to update you.
Would love to learn, I mean, for those of us that couldn't attend, you know, in a nutshell, what were the key takeaways from the Motor Best Practices seminar?
You will never miss the opportunity, because our job and our role is to keep updating all the key stakeholders in the market of what we are doing and what do we want to achieve together, in fact. So our focus was on how to fight fraud. And for me, wherever you go in UAE or globally, you will see that you have to keep an eye on fraudsters, because they try always to spoil the beautiful picture. And when I say to spoil it, because the damage will be ultimately on customers.
Yes.
Like when fraudsters succeed in what they do, it's a bad news not only for the insurance companies. It's a bad news for the society in general.
Is there any calculation of any figures to put on the cost of fraud in the insurance system?
It's interesting because that was when we did the investigation for the seminar, we came to know about an amazing facts. Like globally, fraud is exceeding 10% of the, for example, the motor GWP in one of the countries.
Yeah.
Like if we say in UAE, the motor GWP in 2018, it was in the range of like 7 billion dirhams. So you can guess, if we are conservative and we say 10%, it's
700 million.
And this 700 million dirhams, it could have been on less prices
For the customers, yeah.
customers, or for the companies to come up with more of initiatives for the customer service, for innovation, for the economy in general. Yeah. So I can, if you allow me, I can talk about UK. And I was surprised to know that every policyholder in UK, because of the fraud impact, is paying £50 on the top of what he should pay. £50 for every policyholder is a lot. Yeah. So, and you can make any scenario you like to make.
Yeah.
See what.
But if we take an average premium of 2,000 dirhams on a motor policy, and we're taking a 10% figure, we're looking at a very similar amount, you know,
it's
200
like $60,
dirhams.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. So that's very fascinating, isn't it? And that's a tremendous opportunity for the entire ecosystem to work together.
Absolutely.
And address. What are the key things? What are some immediate things we can all do to counter fraud?
Awareness for me will open the door into a lot of great initiatives. Awareness at all levels. IA, they are doing a lot of initiatives in this regard. Insurance companies, they are doing that just not only to protect their bottom line, but also to make sure that they are not missing the opportunity.
Yeah.
For me, having a network of information, if I say it's a central hub, where through that central hub we can at least avoid the
known devils.
Exactly. Plus connecting ourselves with the global initiatives. Like there is an initiative known as Auto DNA. Yeah. Like when you put the chassis number, you can guess the history
of the vehicle.
Crime.
Right.
In terms of crime, like the vehicle is stolen, or and there are ways also to know the history of the vehicle itself, as you said. and mainly for imported vehicles.
Going back to the penetration rate we were talking about, the 2.65%, which we identified as relatively lower than more developed markets, and we identified as an opportunity for us in the insurance industry here in the UAE. What can we do as an industry to increase the penetration rate of insurance?
One thing I always say, because what is penetration? In my lifetime, everybody talks, we have, penetration is low penetration. The thing is, when the compulsory insurance comes into effect, like the motor insurance happened, now we have the health insurance.
Yes.
Look, if you look at the premium 7-8 years ago of health insurance premium was about 7 million.
Yes.
Which was nothing, 3% of the
Yeah.
total book. Today it is almost 50% of it, or over
Yes.
44%.
So
Health insurance.
So it's
with the
grown
whole-
threefold in
Yes.
7 years.
Two, that's obvious. It has to be, motor has to be first, health second.
Yeah.
Now, my dream and our whole dream actually with Assam
Yeah.
also, and of course as a whole society. I mean, if you look around us, look at these, the buildings
Yes.
that around us.
Homes.
If every little home
Yes.
contents of the house itself, not just the shell building is insured, obviously,
Yeah.
but the contents, which we had examples that burned buildings and all
Yes.
that there's still people haven't gone back to their homes.
Yes.
In some cases,
Yes.
if these were insured, which is very, very minimal.
Yes.
I always give an example since I came to UAE, and I give example of life or whatever. As if you go to the cinema with the family once a week, three times a week, that's the premium of everything that you pay for.
Yes.
Especially with the popcorn and nachos.
Yeah.
With a small family, it costs you 200-300 dirham.
Yeah.
If you insure these, correct me if I'm wrong, Assam. So that with the contents, some other, of course, jewelry blocks and stuff. This is nothing with your. But the thing is, that leads me to what? To awareness of people or for the clients that this is nothing. 200 dirham, you just drop it. You go $1 cost you maybe 2-3.
Yeah, I think awareness is interesting because at the moment people buy insurance for the most part because they have to, because we just spoke about all the compulsory insurances being driving the growth. So the question is, how do we change that to voluntary, the public coming forward and asking for better cover and asking for covers that they don't currently have.
People take advice. Nothing happens to me. Nothing happens to me.
Yes.
I have one client and stuff. He had a rented villa, for example, rented for years. 1 year rented house, kitchen burned, for example.
Yeah.
And it cost him about 20,000 dirham to fix. And I said, if you pay 300 dirham a month, you still will be insured for the whole entire house.
Yeah.
But one kitchen costs you 20,000. So divide 20,000 by year.
Yeah.
How much you pay 300 dirham only to insure?
Yeah.
He said, Wallah, you are right.
Yeah.
Then he started insuring. So, but this has to be done on a masses.
And not after the damage is done.
Yes, one of our goal in Emirates Insurance Association, joint hand with the EIA, we're going to start doing that. The thing is, we need to back up of the whole market to do it as well with us, because of course an association, the non-profit organization and stuff, with the membership fees and stuff, and running it. We are only 4 people there, but eventually now this is what we got done, because I think that everybody, all the related parties perhaps by the beginning of next year will be all members, which will lead the membership from 62, or with a little brokers voluntary they're doing now from 70, will lead us to more than 400 members.
Right.
And that will be a little bit income for the association that we will utilize for that purpose.
For awareness.
And what you're doing here, like Islam says, the initiative, that we want to go. We want to go on TV, we want to go, publicly, brochures, although the IA is doing a lot of that.
Yes.
It's not, the public is not getting it. For example, a long time ago, even I met Abu Dhabi and Dubai with the police department and stuff to put that, which we learn.
Yeah.
My kids, I'm a mixed marriage, my kids are American, they get a license in 16 years there, but they are disciplined. Where they learn that? In school.
They learn driving in school.
Any insurance should be actually taught in school.
Right.
And this is one initiative we're trying to take, hopefully,
Yes.
that include some classes, that it should be some classes within high school, the last 2 years, for example, that make an awareness of it. And especially our young people, as you know, a lot of them dying on the road. When they go to the prom night and they come out, and God forbid, and I know my children had friends that died on the same night of the prom after they come out.
Yes.
Because they just got the license, they just graduated, and but they don't have the awareness. Yes, they are 18. Like even I can say that people say, no, at 16 is too young. I know insurance people do that, but it has to be done in a way that, with laws. I mean, in America, they take, for example, only they drive at daytime or when between certain age gaps, the scale.
Yeah.
At night, okay, until 8 o'clock, their parents should be with them. Until
Yeah.
midnight, depending on age, still one parent should be with them.
Yeah.
And then until they can reach the maturity of 20, 21 years old, then they have free license.
That's very interesting because it's also a case of then the insurance companies and the insurance ecosystem driving awareness of claims
Exactly.
and reducing losses in the market. And that's another great thing that we ought to be doing as an industry. It's not just about increasing the sale of insurance, but it's really about providing protection to the economy.
Well, that's the social corporate responsibility comes in as well, which is,
Yeah.
it's a buzzword everywhere in the world, not
Yes.
just even with us.
We've seen that the smaller entities are finding it relatively more difficult.
Are shrinking,
Shrinking.
and the big players are getting bigger.
Yes. So, what are your views on that?
Just think of what you were saying about the penetration and versus the potential. I would make a quick brief so I can better explain and elaborate on your question. The market is having both challenges and opportunities. The government is always helping in terms of the potential, and you can see how quickly the entire economy is growing. Then the question, like, why insurance is not growing in parallel or is not even growing faster? Because any investment without insurance is a step in the air.
Yeah.
If you want to pay $1 million to make a business, you need to protect this business from any bad surprises, and this is insurance. This is the transfer of risk. It's insurance usually will try to make it exciting. So it's not just services, it's also risk management solutions. Services, yes, is making the package looking friendly to customers, but at the end of the day, it's a risk management. There is a risk I have to manage by either avoiding it, accepting it, or transferring it. So the last one is the insurance. What I would say, the challenges is to see why we are not insuring the businesses or at the individual level. And then we can think immediately of how much the customer is willing to pay out of his earnings. And if you give a time to the customer, he will always think of using this money on other priorities.
Yeah.
Simply because the other priorities are the day-to-day challenges.
And they're interesting maybe, and insurance is probably the last thing you think about.
Unfortunately,
It's unfortunate.
because sometimes you might lose the beauty of your day-to-day life by a sad news, the loss of the father in the family, or the store was burned and this was my source of income, or I lost my job, or I got sick. So a lot of things that unfortunately we think of them when they happen only.
Yeah.
And this is the role of the insurance companies.
Do you think there are too many insurance companies?
I think
For the size
it's
of
healthy.
the market?
It's healthy to have as many as you can see, provided the competition is always based on how to service better the customer and not how to make more premiums. This will happen anyway. With the organic growth, making more premiums will always happen. But if the customer is benefiting of the many insurance companies in one market, this is still great news. The sad news will start picking up when the insurance companies, they are only trying to improve their top line and they protect their bottom line by reducing for example, the average claim cost, reducing the expenses to service customers.
What I find interesting is that the M&A activity in our market is close to zero, which is so different from most other markets where there's always, integration and consolidation happening. Why is consolidation difficult here? Is it a cultural thing?
It's similar to what I was talking about, the risk management. Like when I say the customer unfortunately thinks of insurance when the problem happens, it could be also some of the insurance companies, they are just waiting for the problem to happen to realize that it would have been better if we did the merge. But I am sure with all the work of the insurance authority, the insurance association, and the publish of regulations, I never seen such a high frequency of publishing regulations, and this is a sign of paying attention from the IA to the market on all levels. So and this is an opportunity to thank also those guys who are working days and nights at different levels. At life insurance, recently we have seen the new regulations finally on life insurance, which is a potential also for growth, but also solutions for individuals and groups. Also on the reinsurance, we have seen recently new regulations.
So I'd love to talk about insurance distribution, being a broker myself. There are obviously, it's an omni-channel experience that a customer can enjoy here in the UAE. Other than insurance companies directly, a customer can buy insurance from a bank, a broker, an online aggregator. However, brokers have seen stringent regulations, whereas banks, car dealerships, aggregators have not. What are your views on that? And is there something that we can do to kind of create a more level playing field?
Your question is placed correctly, but recently there has been a new rules and regulations even for the banks.
Yes.
I was myself when I started the insurance company.
And that was much welcomed.
Yeah. And usually the banks, when they look at, there is a difficulty. You have to educate. And that's what's happening now. With the new regulations came from the banks, they have to be trained as well to sell insurance, not just directly to insurance company. And also from that point of view, from insurance companies, if you look at the banks always say, what is in it for me? And they make the bigger chunk if, you as a distributor working with them and stuff. If you calculate, you see they are taking everything. But at the same time, they're not giving, they are of course covered by the insurance. The liabilities obviously at the end of the day goes back to the insurance unless it's tied up to the investment, they do it as well on the bank side. But of course the new regulations, yes, to answer the question, it's coming up. It came actually on phase 1, now phase 2 is on with the bank insurance and stuff. And the distributors obviously, because if you're talking for example brokers, we have too many brokers in the market as they say. But too many brokers, for me as a professional scene, too many brokers, if you look at the world, they all have brokers. Sometimes look, some markets I worked on like Turkey, they have salespeople over 400,000 of them, and the premium is also as close to UAE market, for example. But they are legitimate, they are legal, and the regulator is watching them as well. And the deal is on a contract. But here, of course, slowly, as we see some distributors, which they pay on on a level playing field, as they say, they are harming their own brethren, if you wish. Because there's a difference between a broker and a broker. But obviously, when you come, and insurance companies, when they say people are, the price is going down, so they're all competing. Everybody wants to level, because the shareholders are looking at it and stuff, what's happening, every quarter they're studying it and stuff. But to penetrate, there's no other, they have to think of other venues to gain the customer. But again, the customer himself, I am a customer, for example. I am with the same company. I pay more. I was telling you that, Islam, I pay double. But I'm happy with my company because I make a phone call and stuff, and I know
they are happy also.
I am insurance. I am aware, but I can get half of the price of that with other companies. And people say, why sticking with that company? Because the service level, CSR, with now with the social media, not many insurance companies you see them on the social media, but brokers you do.
If you allow me, Avinash, I am not concerned about broker. When we talk about distribution, this is just a tool. The expertise for me, you are the insurance experts, or should be, at least. I'm not saying all of the brokers, but if they are not, then they need to know that they have a problem. What differentiates brokers from any other? I hate to use distributors, by the way, because Even the IA, when they are allowing distribution through banks, they insist that the bank is only doing the promotion and the marketing part of the business, but the experts are the insurance companies, and they should do the conversion, quotation.
Sorry to cut you. The bank assurance regulations were very much welcomed because we've all seen a big change in the way insurance is marketed by banks, and it is in favor of the consumer. Can we expect something similar for car dealerships who are doing very similar things? Can we expect something similar for a travel agent that is selling insurance, or a typing center that is selling health insurance?
I love to update you, by the way, that IA, they published very strong regulations by the end of 2017, in fact. 2017, it was, by the way, a key year. Later I can explain why, and its positive impact on the insurance industry in general. But the point of sale regulations, and the point of sale regulations, it did address all the complications and issues at the different points of distribution. And that for me was a great opportunity for the market to be well established and regulated.
And for those that don't know, the point of sale regulations are requiring any partnership that an insurance company has with a non-insurance distributor to have their allotted staff at the location of, and those staff should have certain criteria that they meet.
What you are explaining now, those are the details, but for me the most important thing is they have to have an agreement that is validated by the insurance authority. And the insurance authority will validate such an agreement if all the requirements are in place.
Right.
You can tell me, and it's fine, like, do you believe, Issam, like this is already adhered with in the market? I can strongly tell you not. But this is why we have seen also in January of this year new regulations by the insurance authority, the administrative fines. And it's a package of like 204 articles.
So it's all going in the right direction.
All the gaps.
First the regulations came, now the enforcement is being looked at.
Absolutely.
So it's all going in the right direction.
To fill the gaps.
Yeah. What in your view is the future holding for insurance brokerage in the UAE?
This is my lovely question, by the way. For me, historically and globally, when you talk about insurance, you should immediately talk about brokers. Because the role of the broker is not just to distribute, as I said, but also to act as an agent for both the customer in one hand and the insurance company, and double agency. And this is for me exceptional only for brokers. The future of the brokers depends on the brokers themselves. When you were talking about acquisition, we were talking about like why we think sometimes of acquisition or merge, because we believe we have too many, and the too many, they are not doing too good. So this is why maybe combining the strength of different brokers in one organization will help ultimately the customers, but first of all, the investors of those brokers. When you invest in a business, you aim to achieve two important points: return on investment and also value of the business. The return on investment, sometimes it doesn't happen in year one or year two, but the value of the which comes because of the reputation, integrity, investment. So this appears at the mid and long term, and this is when you hear that X broker value in the market is like $100 million, another broker is like $100,000. It's because of the experience, reputation, and investment
in their
people
infrastructure
and in
people.
technology and the infrastructure.
Moving focus to insurance companies, One of the things that has commonly been said as constructive criticism perhaps of insurers here in the UAE is that they are almost working like glorified brokers. They are, taking on very little risk themselves and ceding out most of it to reinsurers. Do you see the trend continuing in this way, or do you see things changing?
Takes me back to your former question where you said, oh, the insurance companies, why they're not merging. Now, if you look at the books of insurance companies here, they're all solvent.
Yeah.
They're very solvent in terms of capitalization and investment and whatever they have of lines of investment in there. And that's not, I'm saying that. If you go to any analyst in the market that they rate companies, they will tell you that. But I've been hearing that for a long time. But the thing is, these guys, which leads you to this point that you said, they always, that is international market, always call us as insurance companies. You're not insurance companies, you're brokers. Because of the retention of the risk.
Yes.
And if you compare risk taking on, let's say, complex risks, huge, that goes into billions, which we have around us here.
Yes.
If you look at the international companies, what is their underwriting line and retention, and what is for, we talk about national companies here.
Yeah.
They are solvent, yes, but they are very, they have to calculate how to take the risk as well.
Yes.
And of course, they get hit once in a while, but if they take the risk, sometimes their profit, if it's a clean year, I'm not talking about doubling.
Yes.
It's 100%, 200% goes, 1,000% could go up.
Yeah.
But of course, it's all calculated risk. But this is what you mentioned. Yes, they are actually, we are labeled in this market. Even when I was running a company, we couldn't do that because the rest of them are doing. And of course, we come and ask me stuff if somebody wins on a loss. I get proud. As a matter of fact, we're discussing that. I'm proud of somebody that does that. Because take a risk, but it's all companies are sitting there. They still solvent. One hit risk of 300 million is not going to kill you. And of course, the area we go to the premiums and stuff. Yes, indeed, there are companies that we have 62. Now we have 55% of the income goes to 6 to 8 companies only.
Yes.
But obviously, because these are almost 50-year-old companies.
Yeah.
But the rest came out after 20 years and under.
Is a good avenue for the rest of the companies to specialize more, build their own proprietary underwriting capabilities, which allow them to retain more risk. Is that a good avenue for growth for the industry?
That definitely, if you look at the history of insurance in the world, 2,000-3,000 years ago, like 400 years ago. That's how the trend is.
Yeah.
I mean, today you look at Bermuda, the companies going up in billions.
Yeah.
Today, luckily, that's the point that in our part of the world, in the region, from the Arab to GCC, within decades you don't see any company going bankrupt. Very, very few in my lifetime of 38 being in insurance.
Yeah.
I've seen 2 only, for example.
I mean, when I look at developed markets, one other difference I find is that the prevalence of MGAs, underwriting agencies, is very less over here compared to other markets. Do you see that changing, and do you see the IA allowing for more underwriting agencies to be incorporated here?
I don't think IA would, but I people on the different platforms like you've seen from Abu Dhabi financial market or the IFC, obviously. These guys, yes, these are the things going on the international, obviously, and they're very well studied. Obviously, they just don't give the pen to somebody unless they know. But IA hasn't gone to that. Even IA, now they think even hasn't gone to captive, for example. We don't have a rule, but there is in the IFC, for example. But I think we are discussing it now, even to give captive licenses into the, and of course even reinsurance. The only one reinsurance company registered in the IA. The rest of obviously because platform of reinsurance is an open international. You cannot close it. Even if you're not there through brokers, reinsurance brokers, you can take the risks outside anywhere, and that's a worldwide thing. They cannot close it like in the old days we had in the region. Including India, Egypt, Syria, they all opened up now because you can't really go that. It's a different economic system, so they all opened up. They can't be a compulsory. We even discussed to have a reinsurance company. They said, we have to have compulsory. Nobody wants compulsory.
Yeah, because of the scale of risk, right?
Scale of risk and underwriting always. You cannot pass on bad risks, compulsory 30% of, which I think is in Saudi still like that. No, I think you have to cede, but also they have the option to refuse.
Yeah.
They have the law that cedes to your national company, but they have the the right to refuse it. And loss is bad, you don't want to take it. Yes. And again, going back to mergers, obviously, your old question. Yeah. Some companies also, we hear in the UAE that, they're not doing too well and stuff. But then when a guy comes to, an investor comes, existing insurance to buy the company, they always look at the book, obviously, that there has to be, due diligence. If the due diligence didn't help them, why do I need that? Yeah. They might select a book of business and buy it through the profitable one, but they don't want the historic legacy one that's behind it.
Yes. So it's legacy books of business that are a challenge to mergers as well. 5 years from now, what's different about the way insurance is conducted here in the UAE?
When we learn always from, we learn lessons from our day-to-day business, we can always improve. You raised, in fact, a very important question about the ceding the premiums outside. And I love to make it simple.
Yes.
Okay. What is better for the economy? Is to retain premiums or to cede or to transfer the premiums outside? And the question, without any hesitation, keep the money in the country. Yeah. But also the other question, how we protect the money when we keep it. Yeah. You also talked about firm underwriting expertise. I would also say maybe when we spread the risk within the players in the market, it's a better alternative maybe than ceding the entire premiums or 80% of the premium or 70%. I am sure the IA, they are paying attention to that point, and it's just a matter of time. And in the next 5 years, this is enough time. And we will see a lot of enhancement on filling more gaps. Because for me, this is a gap. Yeah. Filling more gaps, and at the same time also, it will move very quickly in terms of the insurtech. At all levels, not only at the claim management, right, but also at the underwriting level. When we talk about the accumulation of risk, I bet few companies only are able to see where their book of business is accumulated, because they still do manually the job. And I am sure with the movement of the technology in a very crazy way, if I can say, if we don't react quickly, at the distribution level also. Yeah. I've seen many companies now, they are using WhatsApp as a way of communication. Insurance maybe market, they got earlier, maybe before anyone, into the same concept maybe of the aggregators, but at a professional level of
as a commitment to insurance brokerage.
Yeah, but the commitment for me, it was mainly to both, not only to customers and to insurance companies. Absolutely. My commitment to insurance companies, I don't expose you bluntly with the other players, so we fail to explain the difference between X, Y, and Z in terms of cover services. And so you played the role at that level. And also with the customer, by giving him options. Yeah. This is your role, in fact. And by giving them also some hints on how to select and why. So in the next, I wouldn't say 5 years, I would say maybe in the next 3 years, we are going to see a huge shift of what we do usually into what we are going to do in the next 3 years at all levels. Claims management, I repeat, underwriting, distribution, and customer.
So at underwriting, maybe insurtechs will fill that gap that traditionally MGAs have filled in more developed markets by providing the ability to understand risk better and price risk better.
And collect information faster, like by only raising 2 questions, you can complete a proposal form.
Well, gentlemen, that was a very inspiring and positive discussion. So thank you so much for sparing the time and being here today. and hope we can catch up in 3 years' time and really reflect on the developments and then again look into the future. And I think we are in a fantastic insurance market. There's a tremendous opportunity, and I'm looking forward to seeing the ecosystem develop further and further as we go forward. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure, Avinash, and I have just one comment. I've been following you since you started this beautiful initiative.
Oh, thank you so much.
But this is
He's the one who encouraged me. And then I saw the name, of course.
Yes.
Baboor. I said, that's my teacher.
Yes. My uncle, Mr. Bhagwan.
Yeah, Bhagwan Baboor.
Yes.
my point. Like, this is the first time you do a session on insurance, although you are
Yeah.
the insurance expert.
Yeah.
It was boring.
Not at all. No, this is my favorite thing. Insurance is my favorite thing. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for the opportunity.